It is spooky season again, and instead of getting into the spirit, I want to talk about 5 horror films that are slightly more unconventional. Maybe not what you immediately think of when the word horror pops into your head. Less supernatural and more emotional. It's not about the bump in the night, but rather something that leaves you with a sense of disquiet. Films that prey on your anxiety and curiosity, but end up feeling overwhelming because of the reality they present. I want to talk about some horrific dramas, some Drorrers, Dramors. I'll work on a better name. We're going to talk about some films that feel a bit more grounded, plausible, uncomfortable, but most importantly, horrific. Films that get under your skin, they recalibrate your brain in a way that some of those early Black Mirror episodes used to do. I think there is a lot more going on in these films than just the elements that make them horrific, and that's what makes them such effective horror films. We all watch the same classics every Halloween, so I want to talk about something a bit different but still celebrate the season of horror. I want to keep it fairly modern too, and more than anything, I think these are just amazing films that have left something behind in my subconscious, and I just want an excuse to talk about them. So let's get into it. Here are 5 horrific dramas I think you should watch this Halloween. I want to start with Red Rooms, the film that inspired this video. If there ever was a film that made you feel like you shouldn't be watching it, almost like you were going to be put on a list for knowing about, it's this film. I think it's a great example of a film that's not conventionally scary, but is deeply disturbing, and that's because it dives headfirst into thoughts, feelings, and ideas that are unspeakable. And despite not showing any explicit violence, it guides your imagination into its darkest depths. We witness most of the film through Kelly Ann, who seems to be obsessed with a high-profile murder trial. She is presented as a meticulous outsider, as someone who is highly motivated but also very mysterious, and I won't go into much more than that. And this film does such a great job at keeping you close to her and even rooting for her in some, let's say, unconventional scenarios. The film spends a lot of time in the courtroom, and its beginning scenes are where we hear the opening statements on the first day of the trial. And these statements are not just meant for the jury, but for us, the audience. It's an incredibly effective way to prime us for what we're about to go through. It's a great tone setter and makes you question if you really want to continue. The film gives you a chance to get out. And it's a film that feels uncanny. A few things are different from our world here, but it's close enough that it echoes the isolation and coldness of the digital age that we live in. It's about the dark web, and the Red Rooms, in case you were not aware, are places you can go to watch extreme forms of torture and murder take place on the internet. And even though these videos are never shown to us, the audience, we see many faces react to them. There is a social reckoning in this film, and its idea of peering behind a curtain you wish you hadn't reminds me a bit of Cronenberg's Videodrome. But I think this film still owes something to films like Funny Games and Possession as well. Films that are chilling in their extreme nature, they go to places that start to get your brain working in ways you wish it didn't. It's an unnerving and at times suspenseful watch. I think it has some gorgeous cinematography too, and it will certainly remain with you post-credits. Next, I want to talk about one of my favorite horror films of all time, directed by Julia Ducournau, who you may know from Titan and Alpha, which is getting a release in a couple of weeks' time. But Raw, her debut feature, is one of the most gripping coming-of-age dramas I think I've ever seen. It has a startling thirst to it in more ways than one, and obviously there is a allegory here, but I don't want to get into any spoilers. But it tells the story of Justine, who attends a veterinary school, but it quickly descends into various hazing rituals, and despite being a vegetarian, she is forced to eat meat, and this leads to a dark awakening. And all I'm gonna say is this is one of those films that's best not viewed whilst you are eating. It takes a moment to show its teeth, but it's a film with a hypnotic stare and that slow trickle of blood running down its cheek. And what has always remained with me since I first saw this is how good it is at taking feelings of confused euphoria and twisting them into these visceral and breathtaking moments. Garance Marillier is stunning as the lead in this film. It's very confident in the handling of its themes. It has a lot to say about family and sisterhood. Films like The Virgin Suicides and Ginger Snaps can be found in here. And I think its horror slowly creeps up on its characters, and so in turn it does to us, the audience. The camera doesn't shy away from much either here. It's one of the most beautifully shot films on this list. It's very moody, and it's a film that you can just feel from its looks. I don't want to say much more, but its primal urges and dark desires offer a juicy and tender horror film for you to sink your teeth into. If you can stomach it, that is. And as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best directorial debuts out there. Speak No Evil. And yes, just last year we had an American remake of this film, but that's not the one I'm here to talk about. And even though I did enjoy the remake, James McAvoy is very good at Sinister. I think the original film has a much sharper edge to it. You'll want to take a deep breath after this one. This film starts the simmer early on, but it's only until it's too late do you realize it's reaching boiling point. There is a psychological flavor to a lot of these films, but this is the one I think you will take the most personally. It's about a family that make some friends whilst they're on holiday, only these friends start pushing the boundaries of what is reasonable. And how much are you willing to go along with it? It's a polite nightmare. This and Darren Aronofsky's Mother is what I would call apology core. They are films that really soak in the anxieties of introversion and politeness. If you just go along with it, it will all go away, right? Films like The Invitation, Funny Games, I would also say The Hunt, have a similar sense of manipulation and anxiety, a pulling away of the rug, leaving you no longer sure of the ground beneath you. This film is unpredictable and deeply uncomfortable, but it does have that shock factor, which I think is missing from the remake. It also has one of the most incredible moments of catharsis ever put to film, and it delivers a hell of a gut punch in its finale, followed by a sinking feeling that just locks your eyes to the screen. There are 4 words that are spoken towards the end of this film that still haunt me to this day. One of the most brilliantly awkward horror films out there, definitely worth the experience, and if you've only seen the remake, this is absolutely worth your time because it has a very different ending to that film. Staying in this area of manipulation and control, there are many films from Yorgos Lanthimos' discography I could choose to talk about, but I still think his most effective film is Dogtooth. With Begonia out now, it's always interesting to go back to the early films of a director, especially when they get it right so early on. And this is a film that is always hiding something. Its framing feels cut off, cropped, intentionally drawing your focus away from something. It's surreal, uneasy, and also quite funny in a kind of absurd way. There is a brilliant fusion of tones in here, and unlike Speak No Evil, we enter into a state of much deeper and prolonged delusion. The most disturbing of moments here are presented as normal. The film doesn't give you much to hold on to. There is always a lingering sense of disquiet, and to me it's utterly captivating. It's a story about 3 siblings that live in a world that's constructed by their parents, removed from society. It's a family album that feels like it's been photoshopped. The rules and norms are different here, with fascinating and deeply disturbing results. There is a moment in this film where a plane flies overhead and it captures that same sense of shock and wonder as it did in 28 Days Later. There is a lot of intriguing recontextualizing here, and it's kind of like a fusion of David Lynch's Eraserhead and Chantal Akerman's Jean Dielman. And it has to be said here, Yorgos Lanthimos' film posters are absolute works of art. The Lobster might still be my favorite film of his, but this one is a close second. Finally, it's time to talk about the font master himself, Gaspar Noé. Known for Enter the Void and Irreversible, Climax is horror at some of its darkest urges. I think All of the films on this list could have a degree of a disclaimer saying they are not for the faint of heart, but this is one of those films where I do mean it. This one's a lot. It invades all of your senses with a bleak paranoia, and I think its final 30 minutes is some of the most distressing in recent memory. That blood-red dance floor has been ingrained into my brain since I first saw it. It's a simple premise, but it's set up so well. A group of dancers meet for a rehearsal/party, and someone spikes the punch with LSD. The first 45 minutes of this film is just character work and jaw-dropping dance sequences that is one of my favorite intros to a film I've ever seen. And from here, there's no real central plot, just branching feelings and more character moments. But it all descends into hell. It was shot chronologically and is largely improvised. There's a lot of long takes here, with the longest being 42 minutes. The camera dances, twirls, and drifts through corridors, lingering above each altercation and accusation and just moment of pure terror. And it all amounts to, well, an appropriately named film, and is one of the most accurate depictions of a nightmare I think I've ever seen. This is more than just a bad trip. And something that's really interesting here, and Gaspar Noé said it himself, is that there is purposefully no visual representation of the drug use. No blurry warped effects or slow motion dialogue. You just witness the change in these characters' personalities and mindsets as if you were there yourself. It feels so much more grounded, and it only adds to the unnerving terror of this whole ordeal. I think it's enthralling with an absolutely glorious soundtrack, but it's not a ride or a trip that I think everyone will be comfortable taking. This film certainly captures the essence of films like Possession and Suspiria, but everything comes together here in this euphoric eruption that is so well crafted and delivered in devastating realism. I can still hear the screams. There is something truly dark at work in this film, but it's also such a mesmerizing watch. The cinematography and choreography are in such an incredible infused harmony here that it is an absolutely breathtaking sight to behold at times. I cannot recommend it to everybody, but I think it's absolutely an experience worth going on. And for my money, it's his best film. And that's my 5 picks for horrific dramas I think you should watch. Here's a cat for a moment. I think these are some of the most effective horror films of recent years. Some of the most effective dramas too. They burrow and linger, and I think it's difficult to emerge from them without feeling different. They do change you. I've always been drawn to more grounded horror like this. I like horror films to dig into the darker possibilities of humanity and bring you closer to something that feels real, often with a psychological and bleak tone, in a way that focuses more on the characters, the people at the center of the terror. I think they are experiences worth having, and I think they are some of the best films out there. So please do seek them out. I did start a list over on Letterboxd of films that fit this criteria for me. If you are looking for more films like this, and please do let me know what horrific dramas you are drawn to in the comments below. But before I end this video, I just want to say I've just hit 200 subscribers on this channel, and I'm so grateful for that number. It seems so small compared to the rest of YouTube, but I love talking about films, and the fact that more than 5 people want to listen is kind of amazing to me, so thank you. And thank you to anyone who has commented or shown support. It's a wonderful thing, and it really does mean a lot. I'm currently working on my video of the London Film Festival, which is where I've spent all my time the past 2 to 3 weeks, which I do hope to get out soon. It was a really strong year of films this year, so there's lots to talk about. So please do consider subscribing. And if you liked this video, I made a video a few months ago on why you should watch short films, so please do consider checking that out too. But all that's left to do now is to thank you very much for watching.